It's probably one of the more complex and one of the newer components of the English study design, so it's quite difficult. In terms of the prompt, one of the suggestions that I would be making for preparation is to develop as large a list as you can of different types of prompts that you dissect and practice with. So you'll be doing some for your SACs, you may look at ones from past papers. So the first thing to be doing with those lists is taking various prompts and dissecting them in some way. Now, when you're dissecting them, defining the prompt is important. In past exam papers, there's been key words there that students sometimes overlook. So words like victims, words like bystander or extraordinary have been ones from the past few years where students have needed to focus on that part of the prompt to be able to write successfully about it. So you have a list of prompts, you're dissecting them by defining first. The next thing that I would suggest that you do is develop a list of ideas in answer to the prompt. And the best way that I can explain that is to look at our context, which is encountering conflict. Take a sample prompt like conflict always involves choices and try to list as many ideas in response to that prompt as you can. Remembering that this task, it's about the concepts, it's about your thinking of that prompt. So here's just a list of examples, and this could be endless. Our classes here, when we did this prompt as a SAC, we came up with at least 15, 16 different ideas in response to that prompt. So for example here, choices have to be lived with. There are those who choose to protect themselves. There are those who make sacrifices, and principles often dictate choices. Any number of ideas. What sort of response or reaction do you have to that prompt? The next step I would suggest is that you look at your ideas and see how they connect to your selected text. There's a couple of ways you can go here. When you look at a prompt, when you're interpreting it and responding to it, you could begin with your text and think, what are the ideas from the text that I think are relevant to that prompt? Or you could just devise a list of ideas in response to the prompt and then see which ones link to the text. The important thing is that some of them do link in some way to the text. It doesn't necessarily have to be all of them. But that idea of practicing various responses and coming up with a number of ideas is essential in terms of being adequately prepared for the end of the year. If you've only worked with one or two prompts, you're going to have a very narrow response to something that's new on the end of the year exam. The final step, and it may be something that you're thinking of initially, is what style of writing that you wish to be writing in. So the choices are, or the ones that you've been doing over many years, are imaginative, expository and persuasive. You should be, at this point in time, familiar with the features of those styles of writing, and my advice to you for the end of the year is that you select the ones that the style that you feel most confident and most capable with. With this particular task in the exam, there's no statement of intention as there is with the SACs during the year. So one possibility is to very, very briefly in the exam specify what style, what format you're taking, and it could be something as simple as expository, magazine article, imaginative, speech from this character, just to indicate to the markers this is where you're heading. Think about how you're going to finish your piece of writing. If you've got somewhere to be going to at the end, it's always going to keep you moving in a particular direction. So the finish is always something to be considering at the start. Titles. Give your piece of writing a title. It may not necessarily be the prompt. It may add to the effectiveness of it and demonstrate that you've considered some of the features of your style of writing. It's not a must, but it's something that could be beneficial for you. Remember overall that this task is one about concepts. You need to try to be conceptual. You will be rewarded for your ideas, and you will be rewarded for the quality of your writing. Particularly another point in terms of expositories and persuasives, if you're going to be bringing in current events or historical events, make sure that you're trying to connect them in a way that shows the relationship between those events.